This tutorial is going to show you how to build upon the apprentice list report that we did in the beginning custom reports and use sub-summary groups. First of all, if you haven't, you should go through the tutorial beginning custom reports so you can build your apprentice list. Or if you're already familiar with custom reports, it's just a basic list that we did from the apprentice module, so you can start with that. Here we have in our custom reports the apprentice list. I'm going to go ahead and just show all the records. So I'll go up to apprentices and go ahead and show all unarchived, and then click view to go to the apprentice list, and here we have all our unarchived apprentices. Now what we started with was just a basic list view. So here we are in list view, and when you're going to do sub-summary groups, which I'll show you what that is, you always want to be in list view. So sub-summaries are a way of grouping your list to kind of categorize your data. We talked about the difference between form view and the list view in the beginning custom reports. There's a third view here, the table view, and I won't go into that right now. It's not really something you would use for a custom report. I mean, you might use it, but not as something that you would print regularly and want to report on regularly. It's more of just it's kind of a spreadsheet, dynamic spreadsheet view. It gives you quick access to drill down into the data. So sticking back here with the list view, I'm going to go into the layout mode. And when I go into layout mode here, you can see the three parts, the header, the body part, and the footer part. And we have our first name, and then we have our last name. And we're going to go ahead and we're just going to hold down the Alt key and drag, or on a Windows machine it might be the Control key and drag. And as soon as I start dragging, I also hold down the Shift key, which keeps the item aligned perfectly. So holding down the Control key and then dragging will copy the field, and holding the Shift key once it starts to move will keep it lined up. When I'm all done, I just let go with the mouse and let go with the keys, and then I can select my new field. And sometimes I'll start to type to find the field I'm looking for, which is the contractor. And it was checked to create a label, so now we have the contractor for each apprentice. That's their current employer. And when I go back to browse mode, I can see the contractors listed here. Now remember that in a custom report you can also use the sorting and the finding features. So for instance, if I wanted to find a certain contractor, I could go into find mode, type some data, hit return. Show all gives me all the apprentices. Now in trade school, when you did a show all, and I'll go up here to the view customize the toolbar so that I can put my show all records up at the top here. So if I look for the right button here, I can throw it up to the top, and it looks like I'm just running out of room here, so I'll remove a few items. And again, I get to this area here by going up to the view and going to the customize status toolbar. So you can kind of make sure the buttons that you need access to are readily available. So in Trade School, I hit show all unarchived, and it shows me all the unarchived apprentices. When you hit show all in Trade School Custom, it's not going to show the unarchived apprentices only, it's going to show all apprentices. And so if you want to show only the unarchived, you'll want to do a find, and I'm going to do this control drag again on a field, and I type in archive, and here's the archive flag. And so if I go to browse mode, you can see we have one archived apprentice and the other aren't. So to find all that are not archived, I would put a 0 there, and we have our 39 apprentices. So keep that in mind if you do perform finds here in Trade School Custom. You don't have to worry about that if you're performing your finds in Trade School, and then after you do your find, you click here because you end up with your same found set. Now let's talk about sorting. I can right click here into the contractor field, hit sort ascending, and you can see already we have multiple contractors or multiple apprentices for the same contractor, and we've sorted by the contractor name. But we're only sorting by one field. When you right click, you only get to sort by one field. But if you go up to the record menu and go to sort records, or if you click on the sort button here you'll get the option to have sorting by multiple fields. By default, in this sort dialog, you're going to get just the fields on your layout. But if you click on this menu above, you can sort on any field in the current table, even if those fields are not on that layout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, we want to sort by contractor ascending, but then we also want to subsort by the apprentice's name. So I just scroll up here until I get to their name, and I'll say we're going to sort by the last and then the first. And so it will sort exactly in this order on the right. Now you can see once I hit sort, everything resorted, and the apprentices who are assigned to the same contractor are now sorted alphabetically. So once I click sort, I rearrange it, it remembers the last sort, and I hit the button and we have the sort done. So now what I'd like to do is, remember, we want to kind of group or sub-summarize this information. So I'm going to go back into the layout mode. I use shortcut keys, so you don't always see me click on layout. So Control L takes you into the layout mode on a Windows machine, and Command L on a Mac. And if I double click the body part, here I have that alternating the background fill. I'm going to remove that, and you'll see that that just took away the alternating background color for every odd row. Now what I'm going to do is I want to group these records by contractor. I want to create some sort of separation, because right now, even though they're sorted by contractor, you visually cannot see it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move these labels up, and I'm going to change, actually I'll put them back down here, and we'll go this route. I'm going to change this header part from being a header part to being a sub-summary part. So the question is, what's the difference between a header and a sub-summary? If you go into browse mode, you don't see your page layout, but if you go into preview mode, you'll see that you have labels at the top up in the header, and when you go to another page, and we can create multiple pages by just widening up this body part, but if I go to multiple pages, you'll see that the header is still at the top. So a header part is on every page in your report. A sub-summary part shows whenever you group your records by a specific field. In other words, if you're sorting on a specific field, it will create a group. It will show that part at the beginning or at the end of that sort field group. So if we go ahead and change this header part to a sub-summary, Trade School or FileMaker wants to know what field are you going to sort on where you're going to want this sub-summary part to show. And of course, we've sorted by contractor, not the contractor ID, but just contractor. So there's the ID, and I keep typing contractor. There's the field. And so now when I go into browse mode, you can see I've got that grouping. What's happening here is that the sub-summary area is showing at the beginning or above my body records at the beginning every time the field that I chose changes. So every time the contractor changes, we're going to see that sub-summary area. So here we have a sub-summary that shows the contractor, and then it changes. So we had 2 for this contractor, 2, 2, and then down here it'll keep going until the contractor name changes, and it'll show that sub-summary. Now since we're breaking, it's what you call breaking across the field, breaking across the contractor field, it's a little redundant to have duplicate contractor names. So typically what you would want to do is maybe add that header part again, and you can do that by going up to the part tool here at the top and dragging that down and saying, well, I want to put my header back. In fact, I may want to have my header a different color. So I click this header toolbar over here. You can see it's dark gray now, and maybe apply a little bit of fill color to that. And then in my sub-summary area, you see that you can take this contractor field and maybe put it over here, make it a little larger, bold, maybe even give it a little color. And maybe we don't need these labels at the top, but just a report title. We'll call this report Apprentices by Contractor. And then now we'll go into browse mode, and then if we go into preview mode to see our print preview, you can see our sub-summary list. Now you can also put summary fields up into the sub-summary area, and I'm going to, again, we'll control drag and select our field. There's a special field in every table, most every table, called the count. It's called summary, not count, but constant 1 total. And what that does is that basically summarizes the count of records in your group. So summary, constant 1 total. And we don't need a label for that, so I'm going to uncheck that. And this field is in every table, and you can use that. And what that'll do is just count all the records in your group. So we could create our own label here, and we'll just call that the count. And put that right here. And now when we go into our browse mode, you can see that we have the totals here. In fact, that's redundant to have the label there. We might just want to put it up here and call it total. And then we go into preview mode. You can see our totals listed over here. Now remember, anytime a part shows, any object on that part will also show. So you can easily add a line here, and then you'll notice that underneath there's also a place where perhaps we could add a little line or a separator. And just so that you know, you can also put that same sub-summary part below your grouped records. So you could say, I want to add another sub-summary, and again, it's going to be when we sort on contractor, and that's below. So you're going to get this little separator below your set of grouped records. And we'll change that color to be a little bit lighter of a gray. And when we go into preview mode, you can see we've got separators there. So very quick example of how to build a custom report with sub-summary grouping. You can do a lot more with this, and we'll save that for another tutorial.